Welcome back to the NWR Aussie Resources Conference. My name is Kerry Stevenson. Joining me today is Dan Power. He's the Managing Director of Koonenberry Gold. Koonenberry is it's the Koonenberry Fault. And Dan, do you have a presentation or are we just going to have a chat?
Yeah, a bit of both, I think, this morning, Kerry, and good morning to start off the second session of the morning, I think.
It is the second session, so let's bring up your presentation. But while you're doing that, do you remember, ladies and gentlemen, those that are on the call, back in the day when everyone said that there was no gold in the Pilbara? Look at De Grey Mining now. Where Koonenberry are at the moment is the Koonenberry Fault in New South Wales. Very exciting district. And Dan actually comes from a background he was a country manager for Newmont. I'm very excited to hear why you've joined Koonenberry, Dan, and what you think this area holds.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to share my screen at the moment, Kerry. Share screen, right. So thanks for the intro. And
there we go.
You're correct. We are up in New South Wales. Is that showing now?
Yeah, it is. If you could just go to full screen, that'd be great.
Full screen.
Don't you love technology, ladies and gentlemen?
Yeah, I normally use Teams, but this should work. Here we go.
It's still showing the slides. If you go to view.
Yeah. It's showing the main presentation.
Look, let's just go ahead with it, Dan.
Yep. So I joined Koonenberry just a few months back. I've actually been working overseas for a number of years in various roles. And when I was approached about this opportunity with Koonenberry, I couldn't believe the opportunity, to be honest. The prospectivity is huge. There's really strong ties with the geology of Western Victoria, and there's some big deposits in Western Victoria, most notably the Stawell gold mine, which is a 5 million ounce gold deposit. And we think that there are strong similarities and strong reasons why we should be able to find deposits of similar nature and size up in the Koonenberry area. And the other thing I couldn't really believe is the limited exploration that's been done to date. So the exploration maturity is really, really low. And there's a whole host of factors that might explain that. Previous explorers have found it tough to get access, which is something we're proud that we've unlocked in recent times. And so have great relationships with our landowners and local communities to enable us to get in there and do the work that needs to be done systematically. And also, obviously, it's not just the Koonenberry share price since its IPO listing, but the gold sector in general has been quite hit in the last year or two. So in terms of getting in as an MD and making a difference, and for shareholders, I think the risk reward opportunity is heavily in favour of the reward. So yeah, all in all, it was quite an easy decision to join the company, and I think as we go through, you'll see we have some really quality targets that we're now currently drilling in the field.
All righty, let's have a look.
So we'll go through, skip the disclaimer slide.
You've got it on the double slide view.
Yeah, and I turned my screen off earlier. I don't know why that's happening.
Just go to display settings. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, bear with us.
Yeah.
Nick, if you could pop in maybe.
Is it swap presenter view and slide view? How about that?
Nick, there we go. Perfect. That's working.
Great. So yeah, everyone can see our company breakdown there in terms of the shares on issue, current share price, got a good cash in bank to enable us to do what we want to do. And recently we appointed Paul Harris as chairman, and that's really noteworthy. Paul's on the board and chairman of companies that are circa 300-400 million market cap. So he's a great appointment, brings a lot of experience in financial markets, investment banking and the mining sector. And he is as excited as I am at the opportunity, and again, can't believe that there's been such a small amount of work done. So it's great to have Paul on board, and the other guys, Ant and George, as directors, bring a whole host of experience and continuity with the project as well. So we'll go to the next one. This is a slide which illustrates why we are in the Koonenberry, and you can see there in the little image on the right hand side that the Stawell zone is interpreted to go from Western Victoria up through New South Wales into the Koonenberry belt. So we're likely to, we do see similar geology, similar structure, similar types of mineralisation styles. And there are some other explorers in the Koonenberry belt. Manhattan, for example, they've had some recent successes. I guess they just need to demonstrate that they can hang that together and get a resource together, which I think for them is end of year. But also quite notably, there are some other players that have taken note of the prospectivity of the belt, and including S2 resources, so some big brains at S2, and AIC Mines have taken out quite a large in the northern Koonenberry and to the southwest, what they're calling their Delamerian project, which refers to the orogenic that brought in most of the mineralisation. So yeah, it's not just us that have a strong belief in this area. There are, you know, other people out there that have been successful before in other belts around Australia and the world. So it really is a Greenfields setting, and it is remote, but not actually so remote. So it's a 1 hour flight from Adelaide, where I'm based, into Broken Hill, and then a 3 hour drive to site. So you know, if you look at it on a map of Australia, it seems like out the back of nowhere in New South Wales, but in terms of access, it's actually pretty good, and much better than some projects that I've worked on in the past. I guess also of note there, and this is something that I'll say throughout my 15 minutes, is that we do have strong community support, and that hasn't happened by accident. You know, that's happened with great communication between the company and the station owners, and an acknowledgement that you know, we are guests on their land, which is their home, and they value quite strongly.
And I think it's important to note that you've got early mover advantage out there as well. You guys were one of the first people to peg this area, weren't you, Dan?
Yeah, that's right. And, you know, we've got the name Koonenberry Gold, Koonenberry Belt, which is also in reference to the Koonenberry nugget field. So there are, back in the late 1800s, the early prospectors did find gold out there. And the nugget field is actually quite extensive and is on our project area. So the opportunity is to try to find the bedrock source to all that alluvial gold, which, you know, most projects don't have that problem. That, you know, there's a lot of smoke out there. It's sometimes hard to focus. We've got a process in play for that. So I'll go to the next one, which shows our project pipeline. You can see a little map there on the right-hand side where each prospect is located. And then you've got your funnel of projects where various projects are in various levels of advancement. And we're currently drilling the Lucky Sevens prospect, which is shown there in red. And we have a few other prospects that we're going to get into this year at Atlantis, Four Queens and Vegas. And I think it's worth noting on this slide that each of those prospect areas is supported by gold in soil geochemistry and other factors as well. But we have over 34 kilometres or strike kilometres of gold in soil geochemistry that, for the most part, has never been drill tested. So if this was in WA, you would have seen drilling, all over the project area. It just needs money and time and systematic exploration here to make a discovery, in my opinion. We'll go to the next one, Gary, and this is where we're drilling at the moment, our Lucky Sevens prospect. So the style of mineralisation we're chasing is orogenic gold. Our analogues, as I've said, is Western Victoria, but also Central Victoria, possibly, where we have turbidite sequences and strong structural control on mineralisation, and the same timing of lots of various geological factors, including the timing of mineralisation. And we have had some high-grade hits here in the past with limited drilling. We had 5 metres at 25 grams per tonne gold from surface, and also 25 centimetres at 20 grams per tonne gold in a costine. And if you look at the top right-hand image, the costine is in the northern area, SCB 0501, and the RAB hole is in the southern area. And where we're drilling at the moment is in what we're referring to as the fat part of the gold anomaly, where we think that the structures might be more favourable and more dilational for repetitions of the gold veins or thicker parts of the gold veins themselves. So yeah, it's quite exciting. We're drilling that at the moment, and we're currently drilling. We've drilled line A, and we're currently drilling line B. And we're seeing some interesting signs there in the bedrock. So watch this space on that one. And then Atlantis on the next slide. I'm really, really excited about Atlantis. This is a 6.5 kilometre anomaly, gold anomaly in soils with support from arsenic and copper and antimony as well. And the analogue here is very much so with the Magdala gold deposit, which is the Stawell gold mine in Western Victoria. At the Stawell gold mine, they have these basalt domes, and the gold is formed in veins on the margin of the basalt domes and the contact. And we have a very, very similar geological and structural setting here. And that 6.5 kilometre gold in soil anomaly has not seen a single drill hole, not a RAB hole, not an echo hole, nothing.
Wow.
So it's really quite incredible. And we're very excited to be getting in there in the next couple of months. We'll go in there with air core to start with, and then follow up with RC, depending on results, of course, but most likely early next year, once we get through the summer months. So that's Atlantis. And then the next few slides are, I don't want to really skim over them, but I will. This is another 4.5 kilometre gold in soil anomaly at 4 Queens. We don't know much about it. As you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, there's not much in the way of outcrop or subcrop. There's lots of scree and debris, but the soil anomaly itself holds together. So we have pretty high confidence that it isn't transported. So the soil anomaly is real. And it's just a matter of drill testing. This is another one that has never been drilled, and so we just don't know, what it is that we're going to find. And also worth noting that there was a lag sample, which is just some of the rocky material on surface that had gold up to almost 14 grams per tonne. So the potential here is huge. And as I said, this 4 Queens and Atlantis have never seen a drill at all. Vegas prospect, which is further to the northwest, it's similar. It's shorter in strike length, but really robust in its nature. And again, this is another 2 kilometre soil anomaly that's never been drilled. There's lots and lots of quartz scree at surface. You can see that photo there. It looks a little bit like the ski fields might look like in the snowies and Falls Creek and that at the moment. So, and then going through, this is a longer term play. So we've recognised that our main prospect areas lie on these linears, which are interpreted to be faults or splay faults off the main Koonenberry fault. And in my opinion, once we define some mineralisation and understand its controls at one or more of our prospect areas, we can then start to go undercover. And really, this is a belt scale Greenfields opportunity. So instead of just a small postage stamp of a project, you know, we're looking at more than 2,000 square kilometres that we will hold once our applications are granted, and we can look at these things along strike, along the same structures undercover, and potentially discover multiple systems. So that's really quite exciting. And this is sort of similar to what the Victorian explorers are doing under the Murray Basin sediments. So you've got, you know, several players there, Navarre, Catalyst, for example, being quite successful under the Murray Basin sediment. So this is something down the track for us. But you know, we'll pick the low-hanging fruit first, and then look undercover in the years to come. That's that one done, and then the last one's really our summary slide and our project timeline. So you know, as I've said before, the area is hugely prospective. It is analogous with Western Victoria in its geology, structural setting, timing of mineralisation, and the types of deposits that we think that we might find. It's massively underexplored. You know, these gold in soil anomalies that have never seen a drill is quite incredible. And you know, for me coming in as an MD, it's just you know, I just sort of smile because I think we can really find anything here. It's just a matter of time and obviously money and commitment to get in there and do the drilling. And then I guess we've got fully funded programs coming up. Our timeline slide there slipped a little bit. We've suffered some delays because of the great wet that Eastern Victoria or Eastern Australia is having. And you know, which is great for the farmers out there, of course. They've had some tough times, but it is slowing our progress down a little bit. But we'll still get everything done. It's just a matter of the time. And I guess that second last point that should be updated. We've got about 5 million in the bank at the moment, rather than the 5.6. This presentation came from June. So yeah, all in all, I think that there's some great news flow for investors. I think the risk reward is heavily in favour of the reward. At a sub 10 million market cap with 5 million bucks in the bank and prospects, you know, left, right, and centre, I think there's really exciting times ahead for Koonenberry.
Dan, thank you very much. And for those listening, if you'd like to ask Dan a question, we have a couple of minutes, so be quick. Pop it into the Q&A box and I will get Dan to answer all of them. Peter from Canaccord's asking, what's the budget for that drilling campaign?
Depending on which one Peter's referring to.
Yes, that's what I was just thinking, Peter. Which drill campaign are you referring to? If you could just let us know. But perhaps you could just give us an overall view of where the funding, where the cash is going to be spent in the coming months.
Yeah, well, everyone would know that drilling doesn't come for free. And if you can get a drill rig, then kudos to you. So I think, roughly speaking, each drilling campaign costs about $500,000 to execute.
All right.
As outlined. Yeah.
So Dan, I said earlier, you've got first mover advantage up there, but one of the things that I guess the market possibly doesn't recognise, it does go back to the Pilbara days when everyone said there's nothing up there and now have a look at De Grey. Do you look at that as some similarities there with people just not fully understanding what you've got your hands on?
Yeah, I think we're very much flying under the radar, and it just takes somebody to have a drill intercept that gets the market attention, and I think the spotlight's going to be on the Koonenberry, just like it was on in the Pilbara. The difference is we've staked what we believe is the best ground in the Koonenberry, so there may not be some easy pickings once those results come out.
Yeah, that's what I said before. Your first mover advantage is really good. David's asking, can you elaborate, Dan, on what you are seeing in the bedrock that's interesting in the current campaign? What are you seeing in the bedrock?
So we went in there, we went in there exploring for orogenic gold, as I said, and typically orogenic gold systems are vein posted with alteration and sulfides, and generally speaking, that's what we're seeing in the fresh rock. We're drilling up to like 200 meters on average in that RC drilling. So I'm very encouraged by what we're seeing. Obviously, the proof will be when we get the assay results back. It's very, very hard for geologists to determine the gold content of quartz veins. It could be nothing, or it could be 20 grams per ton. It's incredibly hard to see. Even when people see visible gold, they're often surprised with the assay results that come back from the lab. So it's just a matter of waiting for those to come back.
When you said it, there was a brilliant slide earlier where you showed that, going that Stawell corridor which comes up into New South Wales. How much of that area is yours as first mover advantage? Can we just go back to that slide if you wouldn't mind?
So it's that one.
Yep, that's
so we've
the one.
got granted licenses are around 1,300 square kilometres, and we've got another 700 square kilometres under application. And we particularly like this area, because it had the extensive nugget field, which has to have come from somewhere. I don't believe it's like being eroded off and there's nothing left. I think that's not true. We do see gold in nuggets. We see gold in soils, of course, and we see gold in quartz veins, which you would have seen some of the pictures in my presentation were samples of quartz veins with gold in them. So those samples haven't come very far. It's just a matter of doing the systematic drilling that needs to be done and to try to find the bedrock source. And
as Dan said earlier, they've got first mover advantage in this Koonenberry Gold area, which is fantastic. I wish you all the best, Dan. Good luck with the drill campaign. Keep that news flow going. And for those of you watching, thanks very much for joining us at the NWR Aussie Resources Conference today.
Thanks, Kerry.